Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
There's drama unfolding in one local neighborhood over what a Consumers Energy worker is parking in his driveway in order to save lives.
Power struggle in Lansing. How far will the governor's opponents go to change the way she wants to reopen the Michigan economy?
And they spent years building a family together. Then he was suddenly gone. One recent victim of COVID-19 leaving behind a family of 12.
The incremental reopening of Michigan taking another step today, even as the national toll from COVID-19 now surpasses that of the entire Vietnam War.
Michigan has lost another 103 people to the virus. The number of new cases remaining about steady at 1,137. Governor Whitmer announcing today outdoor construction will be permitted to resume on May 7th. That's 1 week from tomorrow. And a new program called Futures for Frontliners will use federal funds to pay college tuition for frontline workers who do not have a degree. The governor saying the state wants to give back the same way the GI Bill did for people who risked their lives in the past. And the state is putting $130 million toward grants to child care centers and group homes that promise to meet certain requirements, such as reducing weekly rates for families by 10%.
It's been said this virus does not discriminate, as we've seen families large and small suffer terrible losses to COVID-19.
And one of the most recent victims is leaving behind a family of 12. Their story is getting the attention of a Hollywood celebrity who's also from Detroit. Priya Mann spoke to a resilient mother who's left trying to figure out a way forward for her family.
For nearly 20 years, Carolyn and Cornelius were inseparable, and they built a life together. She would work, he was at home with the kids, and he was so excited to welcome their 11th this summer.
I think if I didn't have kids here to worry about and be strong for, I think it would be way worse.
Carolyn Hanley-Watkins says it's nearly impossible to talk to her youngest children about their dad's passing.
My 3-year-old asked me, Mom, when's Dad coming back? And it took everything. It was a really hard question to answer. And so really at the time, all I could do was just, hold him and say, do you miss Dad? Because I miss Dad too.
She had 10 children with the love of her life, Cornelius, and is expecting their 11th in July.
When we found out, he was so excited.
They're having a baby girl.
I couldn't even think of what to tell her without crying.
Carolyn says Cornelius lived for his family.
He was at every football game, every basketball game, every cheerleading event. Anytime you talk to him, he's either talking about the kids or me.
The 40-year-old was admitted to Henry Ford in mid-March with COVID-19 symptoms. He died days later.
That was the strength, my other half. And I thank God that 17 years of my life was able to be spent with him because he was a really great guy.
Her strength and grace caught the attention of fellow Detroiter Kristen Bell. Her company, Hello Bello, is running a campaign to provide free diapers to a family for a year. Carolyn's story garnered more than 78,000 likes on Instagram.
My friends were texting me and like, did you see this post? Have you checked your Instagram yet? That was really such a blessing. I have been overwhelmed with joy.
Despite losing her best friend and with so many little ones to raise, this mom hopes her faith and courage inspires others.
I just ask for God's grace to continue to keep me going.
In Detroit, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Well, unbeknownst to her, Carolyn's friend submitted her name to Kristen Bell's diaper drive.
If you'd like to help with the Watkin family, her friends have set up a Facebook page, and we've got the info for that on clickondetroit.com.
I don't enjoy using all of these levers of this office, but I have to do this to save lives, and that is what centers every decision we've made.
A fired up Governor Gretchen Whitmer there offering her take on the emergency powers she's asking the legislature to extend. Local 4's Rod Maloney has been closely following the political battle in Lansing there and joins us live with more. Rod.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough one, Kimberly, because here's the deal. The governor has said in no uncertain terms that she expects to or intends to extend the state of emergency with or without the legislature. The legislature, of course, saying not so fast. And so here we are after a very busy day in Lansing. The Senate and House gavelled into session at 10 a.m. and stood down for a couple of hours, but it didn't take long for things to get rowdy. Several protesters wanting the state opened more quickly caused a loud scene that ended in physical removal from the House gallery. The three women entered the room, which had been converted for social distancing purposes for representatives to sit in the east and west sides and the media in the back. They entered the media section, and the House Sergeant-at-Arms bodily removed them. A public gallery had been set up in the Speaker's library with a video feed, but they wanted into the media section. And then the governor nixed negotiations on 2 one-week extensions in exchange for a quicker reopening that leadership had offered.
And the Republicans in the legislature want to negotiate opening up sectors of our economy. They're acting as though we are in the midst of a political problem. This is not a political problem that we have. This is a public health crisis.
House Speaker Lee Chatfield said the governor's no negotiation policy is political and wrong.
We need to do all we can to prioritize public health, but also ensure that we're being reasonable in our approach. And I don't think we've done that yet here in the state of Michigan.
Yet he says he's willing to make one last try.
We're doing our best to be a partner with her so we can be the voice for thousands of Michigan families who are hurting unnecessarily around our state. And we think the one-size-fits-all approach is the wrong call.
And then this afternoon, the Senate Majority Leader put out a statement saying that he was particularly dismayed at the way the governor went about this because she had emailed her answer on the negotiations to members of the media and not to them. And so this is going to lead to real problems tomorrow, it's starting to look like. Back to you.
So, Rod, if the governor extends the state of emergency on her own, what's likely to happen then?
Well, first of all, the legislature is likely to vote tomorrow on whether to extend. At that point, then, if the governor tries to go it alone, then it's off to court. Now, how quickly they can get a decision on that becomes the question. But the speaker told me today that going to court is certainly on the table.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see how it all pans out. All right. Thanks, Rod.
We told you at 5 o'clock about the FDA's plans to grant emergency authorization for the Ebola drug remdesivir for use in treating COVID-19 patients. That's in light of a highly reputable study showing the drug can reduce patients' recovery time. But there's also been a lot of attention given to research on therapies that are based more on hunches than on real hope or science. Dr. Frank McGeorge is following them all. Frank, there has been a lot of unfounded optimism over 2 widely reported studies.
Yeah, definitely, Devin. The 2 studies are looking at nicotine patches and famotidine, which is sold over the counter as Pepcid, a common antacid medication. Now, I want everyone to understand the reason I'm talking about these studies is because you should not even consider trying either at this time. And here's why.
The study looking at the drug famotidine, an ulcer medication sold as Pepcid, is based purely on an unpublished observation that some Chinese patients with COVID-19 on Pepcid appeared to do better compared to patients who were on a different ulcer medication. This led researchers in New York to look deeper into how Pepcid might be effective. They found the structure of Pepcid is similar to one of the virus's enzymes, and it might be able to block the virus from replicating. Based on those 2 loose pieces of information, they're following a hunch, and they're testing very high doses of famotidine in patients with COVID-19. This is science in action, but it is not anywhere near proof enough that patients should even consider taking Pepcid to ward off the coronavirus. Now, the other thing being studied that's generating premature buzz are nicotine patches. The theory here started with another observation that in at least 2 studies, one published and one as yet unpublished, smokers appeared to have a lower risk of developing severe disease. Now, it should be clearly pointed out that other studies have shown just the opposite. Nonetheless, the researchers developed a hunch that it was the nicotine that might be providing some protection based on a change in certain receptors in the respiratory tract, leading them to study nicotine patches.
Now, the researchers in the nicotine patch study have been especially careful to emphasize that no one should interpret their study or any prior data on smoking as a suggestion that smoking is beneficial. They are simply following another hunch. The bottom line is that although the start of these two studies has generated hope and interest among the public, they are nowhere near being advisable treatments.
So any concern then that attention on the Pepcid study could cause shortages in that drug for people who actually do need it and take it for heartburn?
Yeah, definitely. As a matter of fact, so many people are looking for any hope or, frankly, in some cases, an opportunity to profit by stockpiling.
Yeah.
That is definitely an issue at this point. We need to pay attention to it.
Yeah, frustrating one. All right, Doc. Kim.
A Farmington Hills man who's parking his work vehicle at his home in order to help slow the spread of COVID-19 is encountering some resistance. He's an essential worker for Consumers Energy, but one or more of his neighbors is being a real stickler about a rule regarding that work van. Victor Williams explains.
Well, you'd think this homeowner association will be more focused on the well-being of this person who lives in their neighborhood, who puts his life on the line every day as an essential worker. Instead, they're worried about his van.
I truly care about my community.
Al Stevens has been working for Consumers Energy for 35 years.
I sent him an email letting them know in advance when I had found out about they were going to ask us to work from home.
In the era of the COVID-19 pandemic, his workflow has changed. Since he's now considered an essential worker, rather than going into the office first, he's been given the green light by his employers to take his work van home to reduce contact.
I have no other place to park this vehicle, and I just can't take this vehicle and park it anywhere.
But the Halstead Commons Condominium Association feels differently and have been threatening Al with fines if he doesn't remove the van from his own driveway.
They went as far as to telling me if I was an Al having my vehicle off the premises by April the 22nd at 5 o'clock, that they would take legal action against me and fine me.
Lawyers representing the association claim that this has been an issue going back 2 years and that they're waiting for any type of document showing where Governor Whitmer's executive order specifically states the 64-year-old has the right to park the commercial van at his own home. They also claim that they have no interest in speaking to Consumer Energy's CEO or their attorney.
That I wish they would allow me to be able to service our customers and get great customer value.
Now, Consumers Energy did send us this statement in part, which reads, the policy requires workers to report directly to their job site from their homes, keeping them safe and healthy. To enable this, many are taking their work vehicles home at night to eliminate any unnecessary visit to a company facility. Victor Williams, Local 4.